When you come from nothing, I'm telling you, you have no connections, you have no influence, you have no power, no money, nothing. You start from scratch and you have to build up. And how do you build up with it? For things that already exist, like a degree. So stop complaining, put in the fucking work, and get the degree. For those who don't know, hi, my name is Luis, and I'm the first one in my family to graduate from college. So I wanted to come on here because I think this is like long overdue. I I've been so scared of producing anything or publishing anything because honestly, I just been scared. Like it's just been like I've been afraid and it's taken me so many tries to finally feel comfortable enough to speaking and just telling people my message and like inspiring people and making them feel like they know their worth. Today, we're going to be talking about just college, like how I got to USC and like what basically it took to get there as a first generation, like undocumented Latino low income student. A lot of people, when they like see my degrees, I majored in political science and I did my master's in communication data science from the University of Southern California, or also known as USC. When I honestly applied in high school, I did not think at all that I was going to get in. Like, I knew that for a fact. Even my college mentor that was helping me apply for schools knew that I was not going to get in. Like, she was just like, you should have other options, you should have other things to consider because, like your stats are not really good. I had an 1100 SAT score. I had about a 3.9 GPA. I was really involved and had a lot of extracurricular activities, but like she was really realistic with me. She's like, this is a reach school, but if you want to apply there, you should apply. And like I didn't know if I wanted to go there. I just had like someone had told me about it. I didn't even know what USC was, to be honest. Like I wanted to go to UCLA for the longest time. I thought UCLA was my dream school, or UCSB, because I had gone there on a field trip and I had also done a cross country meet, and I was like, wow, cool campuses. I want to go there. Did not realize what any of those colleges were or like what opportunities they had. So in high school, I essentially had to do a couple things to get me to go to USC. One, I was realistic. I knew that USC was a dream. Like it when I say it was a dream, it was a dream. I remember when I was in high school, I had a quote board and like I would literally just put on there to visualize it to see colleges, Stanford, Pittsburgh, USC. And then I put in how I said passion, hard work, and grit. Like that's all I put. I didn't know how I was gonna get there or what I was gonna do. Then I literally used the resources around me, like my college mentor, getting letters of recommendation. I would like make sure I had a resume. I didn't even know what a resume was. I worked on getting all those materials together and just put myself out there. And I was lucky enough that I had an optional interview that at the time that USC did, and I just interviewed and I was like, like this is who I am, this is like what I deserve to be there, this is what I contribute, this is the value I bring. And it ended up working and it kind of like all landed in a place. And for the longest time, I didn't think I belonged. Like I didn't think when I got the acceptance letter that I deserved it. And I had to think to myself, well, like, why are other people? Because my peers, they were all affluent, they were all rich, they had parents that were lawyers, doctors, pharmacists, nurses. Like others, my mom is a caretaker. She literally cleans butts. She literally takes care of old people and she washes clothes. My dad was a cook. Like I did not come from money. And I was like, well, why do I think I belong there? I was like, I was taking the same classes. I was doing the same extracurriculars as them. I was doing even more extracurriculars than them. And yet I was always made shitty because I wasn't doing the best, or I didn't get the A, or I didn't get this, but I was still trying. I was crazy in high school. I would wake up like at 5, 6 in the morning, get the bus or ask someone to take me to school. And then after that, I would like go to my first period, which I didn't even have to take. And then I wouldn't get home sometimes until like 9 or 10 because I had extracurriculars or I had competitions. I would even gone on weekends, and I was still told that I wasn't good enough by my peers. And I had to realize that people are gonna hate. Like at the end of the day, people are gonna hate. Whether you're succeeding, whether you're failing, like people are gonna hate. And I had to realize for myself that I was capable enough and I brought value. Like I didn't know at the time what it was, but I knew what I was doing was not normal and what I was breaking barriers for myself and for my family. And you have to basically, I had to essentially train my brain to think that I was the shit. Like I was going to get to USC. I didn't know how. I didn't know like the specific system, but I knew I needed help. I needed people to teach me. I was willing to put myself out there, talk about things that I didn't want to talk about because I knew those are things that were made me special and stood out. And I used that energy and that manifestation into my essays and my extracurriculars and everything. Like when I got letters of rec, when I talked to people, when I made to sure that I told them everything about me. And eventually people gravitated towards that and they were like, wow, like he is so authentic, he really wants this. And I kid you not, when I got into USC, like I knew like this is my time to reset. Like people, you there's going to be one college, one job opportunity, one internship who's going to take a chance, and that's all you need. You just need the opportunities. But once you get that opportunity, you have to tell yourself that you're not gonna fucking fuck it up. You're not. Because once you fuck it up, you lose that opportunity. And I knew when I was in high school, I had all these different excuses. I was like, my parents were getting divorced, my dad got deported, like my brother had died, like I was living like room to room. There's a time that we lived underneath the stairs because we couldn't afford rent. There's times I didn't even have a phone. I was using like Snapchat to text people because I didn't have service. Like there's times that we were like I was relying on the free reduced lunches to eat because I didn't have money. And there was times I didn't even have a laptop to apply for stuff, and I would stay after school and apply there. Or like I eventually got a laptop from a donor who donated the laptop to me because they were like, like you deserve to have a chance. And it didn't have any memory. It was a fancy laptop. And I would walk myself to Starbucks and sit down every single day and just apply. But you just need that one opportunity. Once I got to USC, I knew it was like, Luis, you have no excuses. They're paying for you to be here. You worked hard to get scholarships so you don't have to work because you knew that working was going to stop you from doing the best you could at school. And I knew from there, I was like, get your fucking shit together. That's all you have to do. School. And I showed it because not only did I finish with my bachelor's, but I also finished with my master's fully paid for. I found scholarships. I was in class applying for scholarships. I was getting involved in the most randomest things. I rushed a frat. I like for community service, I joined a professional like development course like for like only the alumni association. I was on like student council, I was on student government. I was figuring it all out and just trying different things. And like I didn't even have papers my first 2 years of college, and I was finding internships and resources to pay me to have that work experience because I knew somehow I was going to figure it out. And I when I finished USC, I finished with the highest honors with for the Latino Alumni Association that gives out one scholarship, one recognition for the top Latino for community service, leadership, and academics, and I got that. I manifested that. I graduated with a 3.6 with my master's in engineering, and I also graduated with a 3.7, 3.8 with my bachelor's in political science. So like I knew that I could do it if I put it. And don't get me wrong, there is things I definitely wanted to get, but I didn't get because like that's how life is. You can't have it all, but you can try to improve your situation. And you know, I hear a lot of these people are like, oh my God, like, like I don't have resources for SAT, or I don't have like this and that. And like, yes, like I understand that because I was in your shoes. Like I started off with my SAT with a 900. I didn't even know what the SAT was. Like I never had taken like anything like that. I just learned because my friends were telling me, like, oh, are you taking the SAT? And I was like, yeah, I'm taking the SAT. Are you? And like, I was like, no. And I found a scholarship to at least help me improve. I went from a 900 to 1100. It's not a big difference, but to me, I was proud of that because I knew I tried my very best with what I had. And at the end of the day, I was like, okay, if I can't do well on the SAT, I'm going to try to do well at least in my classes. And I was taking full AP, full IB classes, like, and then I was like pushing myself, even though I failed a couple times, like I got a C one time on one of my classes. I made sure that the next semester I had a B or at least an A to improve my grades because I knew it's about improvement. It is not about perfection. Visualize yourself at that university. Wherever you're going, you have to visualize yourself that you are already there. When I toured USC, like I had a friend who had gotten there. He's a year older than me, and he's like essentially like the model person. Like you're like "Ugh," everyone. He's like so smart, so nice. Like like well academically. Like he was like the academic beast, and I wanted to be like not like him, but I wanted to have what he had because he seemed to be having such a good time at USC. And I essentially was just like thinking, I'm like, okay, like, let me ask him, message him. He showed me, like, he was a tour guide. He toured me the whole USC campus, the dorm rooms, the food, like, all this stuff. And to me, that just lit a fire that I was like, I want it. Like, I want it. Like, I will do anything to get this opportunity. Like, no one's gonna stop me from getting this opportunity. Because growing up, like, I didn't have my own bed. I didn't have like a car. I didn't have like be able to afford certain like places to eat. Like I just didn't have that luxury and I understood that. And because like I saw what the university, like I saw the value, I was like, if I just work really, really hard, USC might accept me. And I just had to really believe in that. And I worked so hard. I worked every single day, weekend, applying, perfecting my essay, asking people to review it. And it worked. Like it worked. I crafted such a strong, compelling narrative and story of why, despite my grades and my SAT score, why I deserve to be there because I had hustled. I had hustled my whole way to just get the bare minimum and the grades I did have. Yes, other people that had way more money than me, they had better grades than me, but because they had the luxury to just focus on school. I didn't have that luxury. I did not have that luxury. I got home. My mom expected the clothes to be folded, to have everything cleaned, mopped, broomed, have the food ready. We used to sell food. All of that had to be prepped. All of that had to be prepped. I had to pick up my sister from daycare, making sure she ate, making sure she did her homework. I had to make sure I vacuumed upstairs. I had to take out the trash. Like I had to do all these things. I was basically like a parent. And I was like, I have no like the only times I would actually ever have time to do homework was after like 8 or 9 or sometimes like 10 or 11 when I would get back because I would come home so late sometimes. And sometimes I would be gone every weekend. And like it's just a reality. I just that was just how I was living and like I knew that I didn't want this. Use your struggle as a burning passion why you need to get out of there, why you want to go to university. Because I'm telling you, from someone that had just was there, it will fuel you so hard, even when you want to give up, to be more afraid of going back than sticking it through and finishing it for a better tomorrow. I remember when my brother had passed away. It was Christmas. He was there. This is either when he was still living or he was like close to passing away. I remember I was taking shifts with my mom and she would take the day shifts and then I would take the night shifts and we would just feed him, change his feeding to because he was premature. And I remember like my mom was just really, really sad because he was getting sick and like, or it's like after, I think it was after he had died or something like that. I don't remember the details, but because I kind of blocked it out at the time. And I remember we just didn't have money to get Christmas presents. Like that's what I cared about at the time. We just didn't have money for Christmas presents because, and I was jealous because people in my school would always like post like, oh, like Christmas haul, like I got this Lululemon shirt, or like all this stuff. Like they would just post and flex. And then me being me at the time in high school, I was so jealous and I was so sad and I was so angry that I was born poor. Like I was just so fueled by hate that I was like, I will do everything in my power to never feel this way again. I will work so hard and I will work extra hard to get me out of this because I will never, ever be like this again. And whenever I was in college and I had failed an exam, or I missed my family, or I couldn't go out because I couldn't afford things, or I couldn't travel outside domestically because I didn't have papers, or I just couldn't understand this concept because my friends, the people that I met, they were all valedictorians at their school or went to private coaching or whatever. I went back to that memory and I told myself, you cannot go back. No matter what, you cannot go back to that. You must keep going because this is going to pay off. It's going to pay off. And over time, I just let that continue to fuel me. And then I was in a safe space where I was able to grow and see, like, wow, I can do that. Wow, I'm capable of that. Wow. And I kept working hard and hard and hard until my grades improved, until my opportunities kind of came to me. And I just kind of followed my intuition and just kind of kept on doing things that were like, this is what I feel more passionate about. Stop fucking comparing yourself to everyone. Stop. Just stop comparing yourself to everyone. I struggled with this so much in high school because I wanted to be the top person in my class. I wanted to be the most involved. I wanted to do all this stuff and like all these different things. And then I came to a realization where I was doing so much, I was burnt out, and I realized, why am I doing Key Club? Why am I doing American Cancer Society? Don't get me wrong, great organizations. Like, if that's your thing, that's your thing. But I thought to myself, I was like, do they bring me joy? Am I passionate about it? Is it something I like actually would love to do and go back to? If the answer was no, I just dropped it. I don't care if I was 2 years in the whatever, and I had applied for positions for leadership and I didn't get it. And I, instead of like fighting it back, I said, why don't I focus on the things I do like and see where that takes me and become really, really involved in it. And I was involved with the West Ministry Free Clinic and an internship I had in the medical field. And that, like, I got so involved in. I did like a lot of advocacy. I did created my own like organization with it. I did outreach. I did so much in that organization. Like I was there from like 16 until now. I'm on the board of directors. But it had to make me realize that, like, yes, people are going to have all these resume booster things that are going to make them stand out and like get into Stanford or whatever school. And they might have the best grades or whatever. But I was like, I need to stop caring about what other people are doing and do things that are interesting to me. Because when it came down to writing my essays, it was so easy for me. It was so easy. I was like, this is what I did. This is why I'm passionate. This is why it connects to my who I am as a person. And this is how I can do this at your school. And it's the same thing you have to do. If you're not into medicine, don't do medicine. Like it's that simple. Like you do not have to do medicine. If you are a creative person, start drawing. Take AP like art, AP photography. Go volunteer at a mural. Like do things that make you happy. Because I truly believe when you do something that makes you filled and happy, you will get to where you need to get to. And that's what happened to me. I was so passionate at the time about medicine and law and advocacy and like helping people and being an advocate for my community, that when I talked and did my interviews and my essays, it just came out so much stronger. And like my grades, they were improving. And I'm sure it probably demonstrated to that admissions person, like, wow, this kid has done a lot and he just needs an opportunity to be able to like do well. And I showed that. I showed that in college because I was like, I'm going to get the best GPA I can. I'm going to get the best GPA I can. Trust the process. Trust it. Like, that's all I have to say. Trust it. I never told anyone that I wanted to go to USC. I didn't even tell anyone I applied. I didn't even tell anyone where I applied because I didn't know if I was going to get in and I didn't want people to discourage me. And I was just like, I'm just going to like apply and see what happens. And it kind of just like ended up working out. I think when you just kind of focus on yourself, it ends up working out. Like it just ends up working out. I don't know how. Sometimes your biggest haters are going to be your parents. Like, it sucks to say, if you come from a first generation background that's going to college, and especially if you're an immigrant, and even more if you're a woman, like, I can't speak to the woman part, but I know the first two. Your parents are not going to understand your vision. Even your friends, they're not going to understand your vision. I had a vision. When I went into campus, I was like, I see myself here. I see myself sitting at Truesdale or sitting at the Village or sitting at these places that, if you don't know USC, that's the campus, where I see myself. I saw myself there. And when I got my acceptance letter, it's kind of funny. When I got into my acceptance, we had been moving around a lot and we had put in our old apartment address and we gave that lease up to one of our family friends. And I had run with my chanclas and I literally was like there and I had seen the packet because if you get into USC, you get a little packet and it says congratulations, like welcome to you. They're so extra. Like USC is very extra. And then I had gotten that and I started crying when I in front of like our family friend. She's like, "Oh my God, did you get in?" I was like, "Yeah." And she's like, "Oh, congratulations." And then when I told my mom, this is the time when we're not doing financially good. So she was like really scared and she was like, I don't want like she was like didn't want me to leave because she would be kind of on her own taking care of my sister. And I was a big responsibility, like I was doing that. And my mom was like, "Well, why can you go to community college?" I was like, "Because I got into USC." She's like, "Well, I'm not gonna pay for it." And I was like, "Well, you can't even pay for it. Like, you have no money to pay for it." She's like, and then she literally grabbed a remote and threw it at me. And like I dodged it and like it was just so sad because like I had worked so hard to get to this place. And I ended up finding out later that like once I got my financial aid that I and scholarships that I got a full ride. And she still didn't want me to go. And my friends were like, "You're never gonna get in. You're not gonna get in." And it was just so discouraging because my friends were, and once I got in, people were like, "Oh my God, like congratulations." And then my mom was still kind of like, "Yeah." And my mom, it took her a couple years to finally understand what it meant to get into USC. And like the only person that believed it, well, the only few people that believed with me were myself and a mentor I had. They believed in me so much and they saw something in me that they were like, you have to apply. And sometimes you just need one motivator. You just need one person, whether it's you or someone else, especially you, to motivate you to apply. And then once you apply, it's up to fate. You just gotta let it happen. And it works out. Things will work out. When I was very fortunate when I was applying for for admissions as well. I had applied to a lot of different schools. I applied to my reach, my safety, and then my target schools. one of the schools I had applied for was Redlands University. I had no intention of really going to Redlands University, but like when I was in one of my conferences, they emailed me. They're like, "You've been considered for a scholarship for a full ride," and I was like, "Oh, like they're like, we're gonna fly you out. Are you down to come?" And I was like, "Yeah, like it's a full ride. Like why wouldn't? This is before I knew about USC." I go and I actually really liked Redlands, and I didn't expect it to me. And when I got my USC acceptance letter, I was like, wow, I'm like really conflicted because like I do like Redlands, but I also really love like USC. Eventually, obviously, I chose USC, but like even if I hadn't gotten into USC, I would have still gone to Redlands. One, because they offered to pay for my scholarships and everything and gave me a stipend to like go to school. I was just like letting it happen. I think the issue that happens with a lot of people is that they're so set on a top 20 school, UCLA, Harvard, Stanford, or whatever the rankings are. And they're like, if I go to this school, it means perfection. No, it does not mean you're perfect. There are people that went to USC and did not do shit. They just went to class, went back home, got good grades, and then they were like, well, why am I not getting an internship? Or why am I not getting a job? Or why am I not getting into all these organizations? Because maybe you don't fucking try. Maybe that's it. Maybe you just don't fucking try. Like, have you ever thought about that? Like, you just don't try. And you were given an opportunity to do something amazing and you took it for granted. I knew that. And I think this happens to people that come from nothing. When we are given an opportunity, we take advantage of it. At least I do. Because I'm like, I am not going to let this opportunity and my parents' sacrifices go to waste. You need to get a degree. I don't care about, oh, like I'm gonna do a boot camp. Oh, I'm gonna like do this. Get any form of degree, whether it's a trade degree, an associate, a master's, PhD, doctorate, like whatever degree that you're gonna get, just get that degree. And the reason why I say this is because once you get that degree, no one, no one can take that degree from you because you earned that degree. That is a representation of your hard work and your dedication and consistency to get your shit together. People that don't get a degree and they're like, I'm just like, school's not for me. School was not for me. School was not for me. I hated going to high school, but I knew I had to suck it up, do the classes the best I could to be able to have opportunities. Now, I have a full time job. Obviously, there's things with every job, but I know that if I want to leave this job, I have the option and I'm educated with 2 degrees from a top university to give me credentials. It's about consistency. A degree is nothing more than how consistent and how much effort are you willing to put in to get the degree. Like it's simple as that. Yes, people have problems. Money, mental health, like family divorce, like a lot of things can happen. But you just have to finish it. I don't care if you finish it in 1 year, 4 years, in 6 years, 10 years. You need to finish that degree because once you have the degree, you will open up so many doors. And the same thing with jobs. Like once you get a certain job is what you make of that experience. You will build up and build up. But at the end of the day, you when you come from nothing, you have to build credibility. And that's simple because no one's going to take you serious. And I'm telling this to you from personal experience myself. Like when I was in high school, I was never taken seriously at all. I had great ideas and I was speaking about things that were tangible and were reasonable. I was like, we need this, we needed like this, but no one believed in me because I was just a little Latino kid that was poor in a very affluent white city. And people were like, what does he know? He's probably just complaining, like, da 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 da, like all this stuff. And then I kid you not, as soon as I got into USC, my high school was milking me. Like, wow, this is what we do for Latinos. Like, oh my God, see, like, maybe not all Latinos are bad. Like, like all this stuff, you know? And I was like, all it took was me just to get in. I was like, imagine what would happen if I graduated. And then now, when I enter anywhere, and I usually don't try to say this at first because I want to kind of gauge how people react to me. But when people are like, try to talk down to me, I'm like, mm-mm-mm, slow down. You're talking to someone that's educated, educated. And it's not a classist thing. It's definitely not. It's me being able to put in the work to get something. And I put in the work. Like I put in the work to get those degrees. Like don't talk to me like that. Like I did not sacrifice, I did not work so hard, find scholarships, apply for everything for you to talk down to me. And especially when I tell them I went to USC, they're like, "Oh, like you went to USC?" Yeah, I went to USC. Like what do you fucking think? Like I went to something else? No. Like I am educated and I got those degrees. What do you have? Nothing. Nothing. So don't talk to me like that. And then eventually, when I got a full time job at a very prestigious company, like people were even started treating me even more. And like it's sad, but that's how the world works. People care about status, people care about power, like all this stuff. And when you have nothing, you basically have to build up. And that's the simple truth. You essentially suck it up and just get the degree. There's no easy scheme. There's no like this and that. Like you literally just have to go, try your best, follow the things that bring you passion, and be able to communicate that with people. Once you're able to do that and kind of make a story, a narrative of why you think this is going to be your career or your path or whatever, people are gonna give you an opportunity and you just need one. You don't need 100, you just need one. Remember that, one. And once you're able to do that and you put in the work, things will come slowly. I remember something that I always wanted to do when I was in college, and I like manifested it until my very last year of college. I wanted my own room. I know to some people they're like, he wanted his own room. Like, why does he want his own room? Because when I grew up, I was poor. Like I was literally poor. Like I did not have my own bed. I did not have like my own room. I didn't have my own bathroom. I didn't have these things. Like I just didn't have it. And for me, that was such a big milestone. Like I wanted that. And all throughout college, I always shared a room because that's all I could afford with my financial aid and my scholarships. Like that's all I had. So my freshman, sophomore, junior, senior year, I shared a room. And then my last year, I finally had enough money saved and I can afford it in my budget. And I finally had my own room. And I was able to finally decorate it however I wanted it. And like, you just don't realize like having that like motivation and desire to do it like changes you. And you're just like, wow, like, for people that are applying for college, especially my first generation low income minority students that come from immigrant backgrounds. I know that's very specific. Even though, and this is the message my mentor has said. So shout out to my mentor. I didn't coin this. She told me, and I kind of just like been using it every time I talk to people with whatever. Even though a school might have a 6% chance of acceptance, it has a 0% acceptance rate if you don't apply. Just apply. Like, what does it hurt? Just apply. That's what I did with USC, and I got in. Obviously, I put in the work, I put in the time, and I put in the energy, and it worked. So just stop doubting yourself. Stop doubting yourself, and things will work. Well, thanks again. I hope to do more inspirational content and just sharing my advice and like things that I've done that I built a mindset towards that have helped me apply and get a full ride at USC and other things in like my personal life. And I hope to continue to like build and uplift people. That's ultimately like what I want to do. Because I feel like we're all capable of doing a lot of great things. It's just a matter of like believing and building that mindset.